Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. This is Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. For a fifth consecutive day, ruckus disruptions continued in both houses of parliament. But amid all of that, we saw the opposition led by the Congress party move a no-confidence motion against the central government. As far as the numbers are stacked, there's absolutely no reason to move a no-confidence motion. The only intent of the opposition is so that the Prime Minister comes to the floor of the House and they can perhaps force his hand to make a statement on the Manipur issue. The government is very clear that is not going to happen. There can be a discussion as far as the Manipur issue goes, but it will only be the Union Home Minister Amit Shah who will make a statement. The logjam in Parliament continues over Prime Minister's statement. That demand between the opposition and the central government, unfortunately, has caused a lot of legislative business in both houses of Parliament. Let's listen in to some reactions coming in as there was massive ruckus that was led by the opposition even in the Rajya Sabha today, even as union ministers were trying to make a point.
I'm astonished to hear a member of this house call other members of this house dhokebaz. I condemn this. It should be removed and the honorable members should apologize. And I take strong objection to this because women ministers, women politicians have spoken not only on Manipur, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Bihar. Tell me, when will you have the guts to discuss Rajasthan? When will you have the guts to discuss Chhattisgarh? When will you have the courage to discuss what is happening in Bihar? When will you have the courage to talk about the Red Berry? When will you have the courage? How you put Manipur on fire? When will you have the courage to tell us how women are raped in Congress rule states? Do not madam cast aspersion on the female ministers in this cabinet.
सर ये बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण स्थिति है कि जहाँ पे एक माननीय सदस्य शहर के ऊपर प्रश्न चिन्ह उठाते हैं, शहर के ऊपर टिप्पणी करते हैं और एक प्रकार से छल करने की कोशिश होती है, शहर को घसीटा जाता है कंट्रोवर्सी में। मैं समझता हूँ चिदम्बरम जी ने माफी मांगी थी। चिदम्बरम जी ने जो शहर के ऊपर प्रश्न उठाया है, ये एक प्रकार से अवमानना है शहर की।
There have been other human rights violations in Manipur. Ordinary people have felt defenseless. You tell me which part of India has seen such a breakdown of law and order, where a union minister's house of this government, Ranjan Singh, his house has been burned. BJP MLAs have been attacked, and yet the Prime Minister refuses to meet his own MLAs. So this is an extraordinary situation, and therefore it deserves extraordinary attention and priority, because the states which are seeing this conflict are on our border. It is a matter of territorial integrity and domestic security, and it behooves the Prime Minister to come to the Parliament and speak to the people of India and let a message of peace and solidarity go to the people of India, especially to the people of Manipur.
You see, many a times instruments of Parliament are used and deployed to compel the government to respond to the issues and challenges that are being faced by the people of India. It is a legitimate parliamentary instrument called the no confidence motion, which members of the India group are planning to move against the government. Instead of writing letters to leaders of opposition, instead of getting articles and news printed in newspapers that we are ready for a discussion, please come to the House, start the discussion, accept notices under 267, commence a long duration discussion. We are all ready.
Primary demand of the Prime Minister coming to the floor of the House and making a statement about the situation in Manipur and what his government is doing to bring the situation back to normal still stands, and that is why we are protesting and we are insisting that the Prime Minister comes to the floor of the House and makes a statement. This is not a presidential form of government. This is a parliamentary democracy. The Prime Minister is a member of the House. He must use the forum of the House to make his point, and it must also allow the House to ask him questions.
Senior editor Pallavi Ghosh joining me on this broadcast to put this in more perspective. Now, Pallavi, we've seen legislative business that's happened amid all of the din, several bills that have been introduced, even as opposition continues to raise slogans, come into the well of the House. And this has happened in both houses, both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Now, we do know that at least a 2.5 hour session or a debate on Manipur is likely. For that, the admission has been made by the Speaker?
That's right. So we can expect that discussion on the no confidence motion moved by the Congress party and backed by 50 MPs in the opposition in the India front. And I think it's going to be sometime in next week because the Prime Minister is traveling tomorrow and he's going to be back only, of course, on Saturday. But having said that, the opposition parties are not giving up. They've also decided that from tomorrow they're going to be wearing a black band and a black outfit to protest the violence in Manipur. This was a strategy as far as Lok Sabha is concerned. The strategy was very clear that we had to move a no confidence motion because that's the only way the Prime Minister would speak, because a no confidence motion is always responded to by the head of the government, which of course is the Prime Minister. But in Rajya Sabha, the war of words continues with the opposition and in fact led by the leader of the opposition, Mr. Kharge, accusing the government of switching off the mics, something which was strongly rebutted by the chairperson. And over there, we have seen not one but two walkouts since morning on the grounds that again there was systematic targeting of the opposition parties. Not that the government is on the back foot. You heard Nirmala Sitharaman, for example, saying that I take an objection to words like dhokebaz being used for us. So there is a deep-seated acrimony between both the sides. And as of now, there doesn't seem to be any, let up into a divide between the two. But very quickly also, government is carrying on with his legislative business. On a daily basis, at least 3 to 4 bills are cleared. Some are put on the table. So the government is sending out a message that opposition may not allow the House to run, but we are going to carry on with the work.
Right, that really has been the message as far as the central government goes, that the productivity of both houses of parliament needs to be looked into. That is something that cannot be compromised. That's also something that Jagdish Tytler raised today, the Rajya Sabha chairman. He also came out and spoke about how we need to look at productivity, legislative business of the Rajya Sabha, and we cannot hold it hostage as far as this kind of sloganeering is concerned. That message was sent loud and clear to all the members of parliament in Rajya Sabha today, isn't it?
Yes, and day before onwards, we saw that shift in the strategy of the government and of the presiding officers, that despite the din, papers were tabled, bills were taken up for consideration and passage. In fact, the Home Minister itself had around, for example, a Jammu and Kashmir bill. For example, the data protection bill, which is now likely to come up possibly tomorrow or next week. Of course, a big bill, of course, ordinance, which has also united the opposition parties. That is also expected to take up after the union cabinet has cleared it. So the government is going to make the point that, look, we are ready for a debate and discussion, even on the bills. You cannot blame us for passing it. 31 bills are there on the list. And the government, I think, is going to get all of them cleared in the very short monsoon session, which ends on 11th.
Right, Pallavi, do stay on with me. This session anyway is a 17-day session, which is why legislative business needs to take precedence. There are over 30 bills that were on agenda as far as this session goes of both houses of parliament. Do stay on, Pallavi, but as far as the no confidence motion of the opposition led by the Congress goes, this is something Prime Minister Modi had predicted 4 years ago. He said so on the floor of the parliament as well. Listen in.
वो शुभकामनाएं मैं आज फिर देना चाहता हूं कि आप इतनी तैयारी करो कि 2023 में फिर से आपको अविश्वास प्रस्ताव लाने का मौका मिले। और ये समर्पण भाव है, अहंकार का परिणाम है 400 से 40 हो गए, अहंकार का परिणाम है 400 से 40 हो गए और सेवा भाव का परिणाम।
Cutting across to big breaking news that's now coming in, and this is over the Gyanvapi survey. The Allahabad High Court has now come to a decision. The ASI is going to be allowed to do this survey until the 31st of July. That's the latest that we are gathering as far as the Allahabad High Court hearing goes. The Allahabad High Court has allowed the ASI survey. 31st July is the deadline. Try doing this ASI survey by 31st without causing any damage to the structure is the clear instruction that has come to the fore from the Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court. Ananya Bhatnagar, my colleague, joining us, getting us the latest. Ananya, do take our viewers through the arguments that were made.
Well, definitely after in fact, the second leg of the hearing started at around 4:45 at this point of time. The Chief Justice had inquired Vishnu Shankar Jain that, if there is certain problem with regards to, the orders have been passed by the Varanasi court. But now, since all of these directions are being taking place now, the court has questioned as to how much time would, in fact, the ASI need to conduct its survey. It said that, it can try to finish it by 31st of July. But the court has now said that, it has to be carried out till the 31st of July, and that's the last day until which, in fact, the ASI can actually carry this out. But however, we have to remember and we have to, take this as a point that so far these are just observations. No particular order has been passed. These are just directions that have been given, and the court is still hearing this particular matter. So we'll have to wait. And he's in fact reading at this point the affidavit that has been filed, in fact, by the Archaeological Survey of India. So we'll have to wait for the final orders to come in as to whether it is the deadline of 31st July that is the final deadline, or would the court be making certain kind of tweaks to it. But at this point of time, the court has given out a proposal to the Archaeological Survey of India. In fact, a kind of a direction, though it has not been materialized into the order copy or the formal order of the court, that it has to be done by 31st of July. So we'll
Yes.
still wait for the hearing to conclude, and in fact,
Yes, sorry to interrupt you there, Ananya, but reactions coming in from Prayagraj, from outside the Allahabad High Court. Let's cut across.
समाधान की ओर बढ़ जाएगा, न्यायालय को भी काफी सुविधा होगी ये जो है फैसला लेने में कि ये मंदिर है कि मस्जिद है।
बिल्कुल सर्वे हो, तो आपको लगता है कि बड़ी जीत है आप लोग के लिए? बहुत बड़ी जीत है, और ये जो है, ये जो फैसला आया है, ये जो है सबकी, जो न्यायालय है जो है सबकी बातों को सुना, सबको समय दिया, जो है दोनों पक्षों को समय दिया, और एएसआई के जो हमारे विद्वान जो एक्सपर्ट की टीम थी उन्होंने बताया जो है, जो ऑर्डर था कि वो बिल्डिंग डैमेज ना हो, उस सारी चीज़ों को, अपनी बातों को रखा जो है। और अब जो है एएसआई का सर्वे होगा और सारी चीज़ें जो है निकल कर उसमें सामने आएंगी, और वह समय अब दूर नहीं है जब एएसआई के सर्वे के बाद सारी चीजें, सारे परिणाम, सब कुछ अपने सनातन धर्म, अपने हिंदू धर्म के पक्ष में आएगा। जी, तो बिल्कुल हमारे साथ पटेल जी है। पटेल जी, क्या लगता है कितना बड़ा आदेश है आज का? ये
बहुत बड़ा आदेश है और हमको लगता है कि हिंदू पक्ष को एक बहुत बड़ा विजय मिला है। सर्वे से सारा कुछ क्लियर हो जाएगा कि क्या है वहाँ।
जी जी, तो क्या कहेंगे? हर हर महादेव।
हर हर महादेव ही है। और
तो आज क्या होगा? हर हर महादेव, एकदम हर हर महादेव, हर हर महादेव है। और जो है बाबा विश्वनाथ, 100 करोड़ लोगों का जो इंतजार था जो है, वो इंतजार अब खत्म होने जा रहा है। और जो जब कार्रवाई ये समाप्त होगी उस समय जो है, जब ये एएसआई अपने सारे जो है चीज़ें जब कोर्ट में जमा करेगी जो है, कि ये सर्वे जैसे ही ये कंप्लीट होगा उसके बाद जो सारी तस्वीर अपने पक्ष में रहेंगी, सारे एविडेंस अपने पक्ष में रहेंगे। जो वहाँ लोगों की मस्जिद और मंदिर का जो भ्रम था, वो लोगों का भ्रम दूर हो जाएगा। जी जी, बिल्कुल। देखिए, बिल्कुल हम बात भी कर लेते हैं, यहाँ पर कुछ आदमी महिलाएं हैं, उनसे भी बात कर लेते हैं कि किस तरीके से। क्या जी, अब क्या कहे मन में? आप क्या बोल रहा है?
क्या
अब मन क्या बोल रहा है?
मन अब की सवनवा में दे दादर सनवा, कांवर लेके हम जलवा चढ़ाई, जलवा चढ़ाई, बेल पतिया चढ़ाई, तोहरे मंदिरवा तोहार गुन गाई।
तो आप लगातार धूप ना देख रहे हैं, ना बारिश देख रहे हैं, कितना संघर्ष को आज आप लोग को एक वो मिला है, एक राहत मिली संघर्ष को।
होता है ना कि संघर्ष का फल मीठा होता है ना, तो हम लोग तो इंतजार कर, सुबह से 12 बजे की आके यहाँ इंतजार कर रहे हैं कि फैसला हम लोग के पक्ष में आएगा। और देखिए भोलेनाथ हम लोग का सुन लिए, हम लोग भोलेनाथ सुन लिए। देखिए इसमें अगर कहा जाए ना, तो हमारे जो अधिवक्ता गए विष्णु शंकर जैन जी, उनका भी बहुत बड़ा हाथ है, उन्होंने बहुत मेहनत किया। हम लोग तो जो तपस्या करते मेहनत करते, लेकिन उन्होंने भी बहुत मेहनत किया है। उसका आज परिणाम है कि महादेव ने हम लोग को आशीर्वाद के तौर पे दिया है। आगे सर्वे जारी रहेगा और सत्य सामने आएगा।
कितना बड़ा आदेश है जी? बहुत बड़ा आदेश है, इस मुकदमे में बहुत बड़ा अहम मिलेगा। और इतना बड़ा आदेश है कि जो एक कहते थे कि नहीं, औरंगजेब ने मंदिर को तोड़कर मस्जिद नहीं बनाया है, खुली भूमि पर मस्जिद बनाया है, वह सर्वे के दौरान स्पष्ट हो जाएगा। आज वहाँ की दीवारें चीख चीख कर कहती हैं कि यह मंदिर की दीवार है, कोई मस्जिद का नहीं। दीवार की कलाकृतियाँ, दीवार पर स्वस्थ एक डमरू, त्रिशूल जो बने हुए हैं, कमल के फूल जो बने हुए हैं, जो पुरातत्व द्वारा देखा जाएगा तो उसकी रिपोर्ट आ जाएगी। वहाँ पर लिखे हुए मंत्र हैं, और जो शिवलिंग प्राप्त हुए हैं, और गुंबज के नीचे एक और शिवलिंग मिलने की संभावना है।
इसलिए बहुत बढ़िया हो जाएगा और एक मुकदमे के निस्तारण से होगा और दो संप्रदायों के बीच में जो तनाव वाली मुकदमा चल रही है मंदिर मस्जिद का, इसका पटाक्षेप हो जाएगा।
सुना हमने कि किस तरीके से जो मंदिर पक्ष है उस पर इस खबर के बाद हर्ष है और वो सभी मान रहे हैं कि उनकी एक और जीत की ओर एक और कदम है। कैमरा पर्सन के साथ उपेंद्र द्विवेदी, न्यूज़ 18 वाराणसी।
Reactions coming in thick and fast from Prayagraj there from outside the Allahabad High Court. 31st July deadline that is being set for the ASI by the Allahabad High Court to conclude their survey without causing any damage to the structure. Ananya continues to be with us, getting us more details. Ananya, have any other terms and conditions been recorded or have been imposed by the Allahabad High Court on the ASI? We'll try and reconnect that line with my colleague Ananya, but the latest that is coming to the fore from inside the Allahabad High Court is that the Hindu side's petition for the ASI survey to be conducted inside the Gyanvapi mosque premises, that has now been allowed. The Muslim side's petition, the arguments that were made by the Gyanvapi mosque committee, those have not found merit as far as damage to the structure goes. What is ground penetrating radar, how the exercise is going to be conducted, all of that was what the Allahabad High Court dealt with, after which it was decided that without causing any structural damage until the 31st of July, that is 5 more days, is the time that the ASI has to conduct this particular survey. Several arguments were made inside court there. The ASI also had to put on record an affidavit going on to list exactly what they were planning to do during this particular survey, after which the nod was given by the Allahabad High Court. Ananya, I believe, is back with us. Ananya, any more restrictions that have been imposed on the ASI as far as their survey goes?
Well, Poonam, the hearing is still currently going on. There are directions being passed, but a formal order is yet to come from the court. Though the court has, proposed to the Archaeological Survey of India that, this survey should be completed by 31st. And in fact, as I can tell you what is happening at the latest, the Additional Solicitor General of India, who's appearing for, in fact, the Archaeological Survey of India, has been asked by the Chief Justice that is the team, and the question is that is the team still on the site? It's almost 5 p.m. now, and remember it was 5 p.m. until the Supreme Court's order were to be there for protecting the Muslim side, but now though that is completely gone away. So the court asks that is the team still on the site? It's 5 p.m. now. They should not start demolition or excavation. Chief Justice has directed the Archaeological Survey of India and in fact the Additional Solicitor General to actually convey it to the team that at this point of time please don't carry out any kind of a demolition or excavation exercise. And this is what has been the proposal from the Chief Justice since the very beginning, was that if at all no damage is being caused, if at all the Archaeological Survey of India is going through some kind of a process where no kind of a demolition or excavation is happening, where there is a harm to the structure, then the Archaeological Survey of India can proceed. And in fact deadlines were also being discussed as to whether 31st of July should be the last day when this should be done. And if you remember that the Varanasi court too had set the deadline of August 4 for the Archaeological Survey of India to present its report. And in fact, if at all the Archaeological Survey of India conclude its this whole exercise of survey until the July 31st, then also they would need at least 1 or 2 days to actually frame out their reports, to frame out their findings, and to discuss upon what has been recovered from that particular site and what era does it belong to. Dating exercises too take a lot of time, so we'll have to wait for all of that to happen. We are still the hearing is currently underway, and we'll see if more submissions are being made at this point of time, though the Muslim side is
also if there's any more fine
to,
print in that final order that comes out after that hearing concludes. Ananya, do stay on with me. So far we know that the ASI survey will only resume tomorrow. The judge has been very, very clear. It's 5 p.m. now. There shouldn't be any excavation or any survey that happens now. That message was conveyed to the team of the ASI that's inside the premises perhaps as well. Let's cut across to Prayagraj, where reactions are now coming in. We'll try and get you those reactions coming in from outside the Allahabad High Court. The petitioners, the Hindu side of course, rejoicing there. Let's cut across.
आप लोग क्या खबर आई है, क्या आप लोग इस फैसले को देख रहे हैं?
देखिए, हम लोग का जो खबर आई है कि सर्वे जारी रहेगा, 31 जुलाई तक सर्वे कर लेना है ये सबसे बड़ी खुशी है कि जो लिंगड़ लगा रहे हैं, विरोध कर रहे हैं, बिना मतलब के तर्क कर रहे हैं, सर्वे से उनको घबराना नहीं चाहिए, सर्वे में सहयोग करना चाहिए। अब 31 जुलाई के अंदर सर्वे हो जाएगी, इसकी रिपोर्ट पुरातत्व विभाग अपना सौंपेगा। अब इस रिपोर्ट में सबसे बड़ी अहम चीज है कि जो उनकी सारी कहानियां कथानक है सभी दमीजोद हो जाएंगी।
तो जो आप लोगों को लगता है सर्वे पर रोक नहीं है, हाईकोर्ट ने उसको खारिज कर दिया। देखिए हमारी सीता क्या कहेंगी आप?
किस तरह का उत्साह है आज जिस तरीके से हाईकोर्ट ने आपको फैसला दिया आपको पक्ष में?
हमारे अंदर उत्साह बहुत पहले से था, हम मायूस नहीं थे। हम मायूस नहीं थे, हम जानते थे सुबह से आके यहाँ बैठे हैं बिना खाए पिए कि हमारे बाबा हमको मिलेंगे। इसी सावन में सर्वे होगा, फिर होगा सर्वे।
तो क्या खबर आ रही है आप लोगों के पास?
हो सकता है 31 जुलाई तक सर्वे करना, हो सकता है कल ही से।
खबर क्या आई आप लोगों के पास?
अभी तो हमारे पास नहीं आए। विष्णु भैया से
जो अभी जो जोश में हर्ष है किस बात का है?
ये हाईकोर्ट से हम लोग को मिल गया है ना कि सर्वे होगा, सर्वे होगा। हर दम मस्त रहेला भोला तो हर काशी नगरी, हर मस्त रहेला बाबा तो हर काशी नगरी। अरे गंगा मैया के अचरा फैलाला सागरी, गंगा मैया के अचरा फैलाला सागरी। हर दम मस्त रहेला भोला तो काशी नगरी। अरे बाबा विश्वनाथ का मंदिर मनवा सबके भावेला, देशवा और विदेशवा से दर्शनवा के सब आवेल। अरे इनके चरण में सब रख देला अपन पगड़ी, इनके चरण में सब रख दे अपन पगड़ी। हरदम मस्त रहेला बोल तो हर काशी नगरी, हरदम मस्त रहेला बोल तो हर काशी नगरी। हर हर महादेव।
आपने सुना यहाँ पर जो वादनी महिलाएं हैं उनमें किस तरीके का जोश है। हम और भी लोगों से बात कर लेते हैं कि क्या वो सोचते हैं इस फैसले के बाद।
इस फैसला के बाद ये तय हो जाएगा। एक प्रमाणित रिपोर्ट वैज्ञानिक विधि से जब एसआई करके अपनी
The petitioners there rejoicing at the verdict of the Allahabad High Court. The SI survey has been allowed until the 31st of July, a deadline being set. Ananya, my colleague, getting us the latest as far as what's transpiring in court. Like he was pointing out, the final order is yet to come. The hearing is still underway. The Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court, in fact, going on to say that the Varanasi District Court had granted relief to the plaintiff. The Supreme Court reduced that relief. The SI affidavit further reduces the relief that is claimed by the plaintiffs. This is an observation that is being made as far as this ASI survey goes. Remember, the Archaeological Survey of India also had to go on record, file an affidavit in the Allahabad High Court and become a party to this entire issue, because they are the ones who are conducting this particular survey. They have another 5 days during which they can conduct this survey. August 4th is the next hearing after that, where they will have to submit their report on the findings of what was revealed during this particular survey. The hope for the Hindu side is that there are several more markings that are found across the Gyanvapi mosque complex, which would prove their argument in court. The Muslim side, of course, then goes on to say that this is an encroachment and is in contravention with the Places of Worship Act, which is why they wanted a complete block as far as an ASI survey goes. The hearing is going to continue tomorrow as well, is what we're now learning. 2 days of breathing time is what has been sought by the Muslim side, to which the Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court has gone on to say that we are going to be continuing the hearing tomorrow, but the ASI survey will also resume from tomorrow, is what we're now learning. More details are trickling in from the Allahabad High Court. We'll keep a track of that and much more here on CNN News 18. Before now, a quick break.
And they're just repeating it once again.
Well, you see, this all started with Congress MLA Tanvi Seth writing a letter to Home Minister G. Parmeshwara requesting that, in riots pertaining to DJ Ali, KG Ali, and not just that, in Hubli and Shimoga as well, many false cases have been booked against individuals. So these cases should be relooked. That's what the Congress MLA Tanvi Seth had written to Home Minister G. Parmeshwara. And following this letter, G. Parmeshwara wrote another letter to the Home Secretary stating that yes, there are certain false cases filed against certain individuals in such rare cases, so that has to be relooked. So once this letter came to the fore, came to the public light, so the BJP slammed the Congress government for appeasement politics, and as we as we witness right now, former Chief Minister also slammed Home Minister G. Parmeshwara as well as Chief Minister Siddaramaiah of once again indulging in the appeasement politics. So that's what the BJP had to say. But once again, we have the Congress party as well, Home Minister and the Chief Minister himself stating that there have been certain false cases that have been booked. So we are looking into that case. And remember, in one of its cabinet meetings which took place in a couple of weeks ago, in the previous month, the Congress government made it very clear and also said that they'll be forming the subcommittee that will look into the cases. So this is not a sudden decision. A decision was earlier taken in one of its cabinet meeting, and after this cabinet meeting decision, a subcommittee will be formed and this will look into the cases.
Okay, Akshara, we'll unfortunately have to leave that conversation there. Thanks a lot for getting us all those details. Some other reactions also now coming in. Reaction that was coming in from the Karnataka Chief Minister. As we pointed out, there is a political war of words that has now erupted in the state of Karnataka as far as the DJ Halli case is concerned, where the BJP has trained its guns at the Siddaramaiah government, saying that you're indulging in appeasement politics. What has the Karnataka government done as of now? Because the BJP is saying they've set the wheels in motion. If this case is dropped or withdrawn, then this is just appeasement politics. What is the Karnataka Home Minister saying?
Well, we just now spoke to the Karnataka Home Minister. He refuted the accusations by the BJP with the claim that it's just appeasement politics by the Congress, which Congress keeps doing it. So he completely refuted it and stated that there are certain procedures which this particular withdrawal of the cases has to go through. First, we'll pass it to the subcommittee, and subcommittee will take a look at these cases, and then it will be passed on to the main committee. And after that, it passes through these two phases, then if they are not found at fault, then only the cases against these creators will be withdrawn. Apart from that, there is no such comment given out by the Home Minister whether there will be withdrawing all the cases or not. They just said that these two cases, this is the procedure, and all the cases against these individuals have to go through these two procedures. Once if they are not at fault, then only the cases will be withdrawn. So that's the word coming in from the Home Minister G. Parmeshwara. But the BJP has already acted ante against the Home Minister and the government. They also pointed out the fact that Siddaramaiah government obviously withdraw cases against the PFI. So once again, they are doing the same here as well. And they're working on the behest of certain organizations. And all these organizations, they also already said all these organizations have written to the Chief Minister to withdraw cases against individuals from their organizations. So Siddaramaiah is listening to all of these organizations and the individuals from these organizations. So that's the reason why such move is being initiated by the government. So that's what the BJP had to say regarding this issue.
So Akshara, just help me understand this clarification that's coming in from the Karnataka Home Minister. He in fact is saying, okay, Akshara, we'll just request you to stay on with us. We want to take in a reaction from the BJP as well. Mr. S. Prakash now joining us. Good to have you with us here on CNN News 18. There is now clarification, sir, that's coming in as far as the Karnataka Home Minister is concerned. One, he's saying there is no complaint that has been filed. We're not dropping any cases as far as the right accused is concerned. Why is the BJP making a mole out of a mountain?
The letter he has written to the police officer explains itself. He has categorically stated, review the cases and and act accordingly. What does it mean? He is a home minister and he should have been more careful about it. How can we let these troubleshooters who indulge in burning police station and it almost indulging in a terror activities be let off just because the ruling party MLA writes a letter claiming most of them are innocent and they have no role to play in it? Has the court declared them innocent? The case is pending in the court. Let the court decide. Who is Mr. Parmeshwar to decide about the merit of the case?
But he's gone on to clarify that we're not dropping the cases as far as the right accused is concerned. There are certain false cases that the state government feels were formed. They're saying we need to look into it. The other point that the state government is making, that you would also know, this was a case that was transferred to the NIA. So there's little ambit as far as the scope of what the state government can do or cannot do.
First of all, it is a well-known fact. Most of the cases after KGL and DGL riot case has been transferred to NIA, over which the state government has no powers at all. Mr. Tanveer said only for the eyewash and to mislead the community people has written a letter, and Parmeshwar blindly has replied him. Now he has to clarify it. This government is protecting all such elements. What is happening in Udupi is also a similar case. And even in the hijab case, the minister is on record when the case is before the Supreme Court, he says we will permit hijab in the colleges. So they have no respect for the law, they have no respect for the judiciary, they are only respect for their vote bank politics.
Mr. Prakash, I just want to understand another aspect. The Congress is also saying this won't really be the first time that state governments have taken decision in certain cases of withdrawing them or dropping them. Your government also did it. So why is only their government being targeted? And secondly, when the BJP makes a charge of appeasement politics, what are you asking from the state government as of now? Because they're quoting legal procedure.
The case of KJL, DJL is almost a terror activity. Why did the NIA took over the case? They even they burnt the police station. Hundreds of vehicles were touched for no reason at all. It was a huge riot they ensured within a matter of 2-3 hours. 4 to 5 people lost their life in the police firing. Such was the intensity of the riot they engineered. And such elements who are responsible for such act, should they go scot-free? Let us not politicize it. If any other community does it also, they should also face the law and they should also be punished. There should not be any compromise on it.
Okay, Mr. S. Prakash, we'll have to leave that conversation there. Thanks a lot for speaking to us here at CNN News 18. Our colleague Akshara continues to be with us. Akshara, so help us understand what is the kind of sequence of events.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5 and we now have some breaking news that's coming in, and it's a big shot in the arm as far as fight against gangster-terror nexus is concerned. Details now trickling in. The NIA has arrested a close aide of Lawrence Bishnoi on his deportation from UAE. He was immediately taken into custody by the NIA. We're now given to understand that Lawrence Bishnoi's key aide, who was absconding, is wanted in 11 cases. Vikram Brar has now been apprehended. He is in the net of the National Investigating Agency. There are several high-profile cases that he's wanted in, including in the murder of late singer Sidhu Moosewala. Anshul, my colleague, joining us, getting us more details. Yes, Anshul.
So yes, this is being seen as a massive catch by the NIA, because remember, the investigation that is being carried out by the NIA is regarding the gangster and terrorist nexus as well. So yes, this is being seen as a big catch. Now, Vikram Brar actually used to work for Lawrence Bishnoi. He used to operate a communications control room, which means that he was the person who was actually in charge of making sure that Lawrence Bishnoi is speaking to the other members of the gang, and instructions that are given from Lawrence Bishnoi, those instructions are eventually passed out. And in fact, in the Sidhu Moosewala killing, he was involved in the same manner, and there are charges of abetment against him as well, because he was the person who made sure that the entire communication that needs to be established for logistical help to reach out. He was the person who did each and everything. Now the NIA has finally taken him into custody and is in the process of getting him back to the country. So once he is brought back to the country, it is going to be very, very interesting to see as to what more details can he reveal about the entire nexus that he was a part of, and how Lawrence Bishnoi gang is still managing to operate while the head of that gang is in the jail for the past few years now.
Right, do stay on with me. Senior journalist Hemant Attri joining us on this broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. A key aide of Lawrence Bishnoi now in the NIA's net. He was apprehended right on deportation from UAE. Put this in perspective for us. How significant is this in the fight against this gangster terror nexus that the NIA is investigating?
See, it's really important to see. Basically, Lawrence Bishnoi was in judicial custody with NIA last month also, it's very correct. And there were certain very important leads the NIA got from him. And after that, the NIA lost this operation to bring this gentleman from UAE. Now the thing is, basically, they are all closing in on all the drug peddlers, basically. All the people who are operating this drug nexus, weapon nexus, separatist outfits, Khalistani things. NIA is whole hog after them now. So the thing is, they are also taking care of the Canada, Australia and UK part. Now it is to be seen as to how much information the NIA has got regarding all of the whole nexus in Sidhu Moosewala case as well as the other cases also. That's how NIA is closing on every accused in that case also and the other major cases. And they got very specific leads from Lawrence Bishnoi during the last month when they interrogated him in their custody.
Right, so a big catch there as far as joining the dots in this entire nexus is concerned. Mr. Atri, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Anshul, my colleague, continues to be with us, getting us more details of what exactly this means. How exactly, Anshul, tell our viewers, was the request for deportation made? For how long has NIA been on the radar of Vikram Brar and trying to get him back to India?
So yes, the name of Vikram Brar was upon the list of NIA for a very, very long time is what we are being told. And since the date the investigation has started, it's the terror and gangster nexus that has been investigated by the NIA. Since then, he has been on the list, and it was a reform that NIA had that he could be in the United Arab Emirates. Now, the request was sent, and eventually the permission was granted for the deportation of Vikram Brar from UAE to India, and hence NIA sees this as a big success. Because remember, since the investigation has started, NIA has successfully been able to get at least five gangsters deported from various countries, especially Western countries, back to India. So yes, the NIA is looking at this like a big success. But because remember, he was involved in cases, not only the killing of Sidhu Moosewala, but yes, he was also involved in several cases where he used to smuggle weapons, drugs, etc. Just so that his gang could keep on earning money. So yes, his name has been arrested in several FIRs. In fact, he was absconding from the grasp of the local police from 2020 itself, and since then a manhunt was launched for him. Approximately 11 lookout circulars were also released by competent authorities against Vikram Brar. So now, since Vikram Brar has been taken into custody, all those cases would be investigated with him, and it is going to be very, very interesting to see as to what more details can he tell about this gang that is still operating with full power, especially across North India, and how he was actually involved in the killing of Sidhu Moosewala as well.
Right, Anshul, this perhaps is going to give more leads to the investigating agency as far as the bigger nexus, the bigger conspiracy is concerned. But for the moment, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that. Shifting focus now to a case that haunts the Congress party and its leader Jagdish Tytler almost 4 decades later. For the first time, we saw Jagdish Tytler perhaps facing the law as far as the 1984 anti-Sikh riots are concerned. He is summoned by the court to appear personally on the 5th of August. This is as far as the Sikh riots case is concerned. Like I mentioned, we have spoken to several victims on this particular case. They, of course, are rejoicing. They see this as the first step in the right direction. Perhaps it's 39 years too late, but at least it is one step in the right direction is what they're saying. My colleagues Sanjay Suri and Ananya are joining us live, getting us more details. Ananya, coming to you first, do take our viewers through what exactly transpired in court today when the supplementary charge sheet was put forth before the court, and why exactly did the court summon Jagdish Tytler next?
Well, remember that, this charge sheet was filed almost a month ago before, in fact, the Delhi's Rouse Avenue Court, though there were certain discrepancies, like there were certain prosecution sanctions that were required and a FSL report had to come, and that's the reason why, in fact, for the last 2-3 dates, this matter was getting adjourned. But today, finally, the material had come on record, and in fact, all of the reports have come in, and the court, after perusing all of it, clearly told, and in fact, recorded in its order as well, that, there is sufficient material to proceed against Jagdish Tytler under charges of writing and in fact also under charges of murder, that is 302 of the Indian Penal Code. Definitely a big order coming in, and Jagdish Tytler being summoned to physically appear before the court on August 5 at around 12 p.m. in the afternoon is when Jagdish Tytler will be coming to the court in order to mark his presence. Remember, he has been summoned as an accused into this particular case. These charges would be pushed against him, and then the framing of charges is the next big step that would take place. That would happen only after, the stage of 202 007, that is the supplying of document, actually concludes. But this is definitely a big one, and in fact, as we were speaking to Mr. H.S. Fulka, who had been appearing for the victim for quite a long time, and since this legal battle began almost 39 years ago, he had said that, since a very long time, Jagdish Tytler had been getting away with the law by using his political powers and also by influencing witnesses into this particular case. But finally, now almost after 39 years, Jagdish Tytler would be put to the law, and definitely he will be convicted in this particular case, is what the victim's lawyer have to say. So definitely big development coming in. However, how does it play up is something that we'll have to wait and watch for, whether charges are to be framed against Jagdish Tytler. All this to be answered after August 5th, when Jagdish Tytler would appear before the court floor.
Yes, that remains to be seen. Do stay on with me. Sanjay Suri also joining us live, and it's important to know that Sanjay was one of those people whose testimony has been part of record as far as these entire cases go. Not just that against Jagdish Tytler, but several of the anti-Sikh riot cases go. And Sanjay, your testimony is something that came up in court today. That's also something that the Victims' Council spoke about.
There is a question here about the Tytler case, and we've seen this, as you have pointed out, coming 39 years later. And the question is that we have to see the evidence. We have a charge sheet that the CBI filed on May the 20th. Following that, we have summons, and the summons followed some perusal of the charge sheet, and clearly the magistrate decided that there is enough there to proceed on. What the evidence is another question. We do know that on several occasions the CBI has sought to investigate Tytler and given that up at least on 3 occasions. Now the CBI has come up with another charge sheet. Clearly, if the logic of law goes, the CBI should have fresh evidence with it, and that fresh evidence should have surfaced quite recently. What that might be, we do not know. We do hear about some tape recording in this case. That would then mean that there is new tape recording of Tytler saying somewhere to somebody that he indeed was responsible. And that would have been the case after having denied strenuously all these years that he had any involvement. If that really is the case, and if the CBI has dug it out, then that would point to very dogged and professional investigation by the CBI. They may surprise us yet, given their dismal record over recent years.
Yes, and the fact that the CBI has given Jagdish Tytler a clean sheet in the past. Ananya and Sanjay, thank you so much for joining us here on this broadcast and giving us those details, and Sanjay for sharing that perspective with us. Also joined by on this broadcast is H.S. Fulka, who is the counsel for the victims in this particular case. Mr. Fulka, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. I want to begin by asking you, how big a development is this that we've seen today from court? Is the summoning just procedural? Because the court is yet to get into the merit of what the evidence on record is.
The main thing is the filing of the charge sheet. When the charge sheet is filed under the section 302 and the other major offences, then the court examine that if the material is sufficient, where and the trial should be started against the accused. So now that is also a necessary process under the law, and the court at that stage can even refuse to take cognizance and direct the further investigation also. Now in this case, this is very important and material, because of the reason that earlier, you see, 3 times the closure report was filed by the CBI, and all 3 times it is at this stage only that we had asked the court not to accept it and to send it back for further investigation, because proper investigation was not conducted.
Yes.
No, this time, so we convinced the court that now on the basis of the statement of the witnesses, sufficient evidence is there to start a murder trial against Tytler. So the court had taken cognizance and directed that the murder trial should be started against Tytler.
Yes, Mr. Fulka, like you've been pointing out, there have been closure reports that have been filed in the past, clean chits as some would call them, to Jagdish Tytler, which is why I want to ask you, today, even as the victims in this particular case say that this perhaps is the first step in the right direction, some would say that kind of celebratory tone perhaps would be premature. How would you react to that?
The first step is starting the trial. I mean, it had taken 39 years even to start the trial against him. he has been so using his political power and money power to stall the process of law. So this is a very, very important step what has happened today. It is not at all premature to celebrate, because this is one of the major steps and the first major step towards securing the punishment for him. So this is a cause to celebrate it.
We're shifting focus from that to more news coming in, and Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi, was confronted on the situation of the national capital. Every single time there is heavy rain that lashes the city and there's waterlogging. The CM walked out from the meet of the NDMC when he was confronted. Let's take a look at what exactly transpired.
क्या अरविंद केजरीवाल आप में इतनी हिम्मत नहीं है कि आप मीटिंग ले सके? दिल्ली डूब रही थी, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी भाग रहे थे, क्यों भागे? इस एपेक्स कमेटी की मीटिंग को चेयर करने के लिए, जिसमें फ्लड कंट्रोल की एपेक्स कमेटी है। ये दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री जी से एक चीज पूछ सकता हूं अरविंद केजरीवाल जी? नहीं, आप भाग जाएंगे, एक चीज बता दीजिए, ये एक एपेक्स कमेटी है। नहीं, एक ही एपेक्स कमेटी अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, इसमें लिखा है साहब कि एपेक्स कमेटी में आप चेयर कर रहे थे, दिल्ली डूब रही थी, जून तक उस फ्लड कंट्रोल एपेक्स कमेटी की मीटिंग रखनी पड़ती। इतना डरते हैं, बोलने की हिम्मत ताकत नहीं है आप अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, क्यों डर रहे हैं आप? बताइए ना, दिल्ली डूब रही थी, दिल्ली के मुद्दे पे नहीं बोल रहे, एपेक्स कमेटी के मामले पे नहीं बोल रहे, अपनी विधानसभा में महिलाओं के ऊपर करे हुए आप सुविधा कैंप लगते हैं अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, सुविधा कैंप के मुद्दे पे नहीं बोल रहे। बताएंगे अरविंद केजरीवाल जी कहाँ थे आप? आपके लिए लालू यादव जो भ्रष्टाचार चारा घोटाला में लिप्त थे, उनसे गठबंधन जरूरी है। शरद पवार उनके साथ बैठ के करप्शन जरूरी है। आप मीटिंग छोड़ के भागना चाह रहे हैं अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, आप अरविंद केजरीवाल जी मीटिंग छोड़ के भाग रहे हैं आज। फिर मत भागिए, महिलाओं के इशू पे आप जवाब दीजिए अरविंद केजरीवाल जी। भागिए मत अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, भागिए मत अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, भागिए मत अरविंद केजरीवाल जी।
Rupashri, my colleague, joining us, getting us more details of what exactly transpired. Now, Rupashri, this was at an NDMC meeting is when Arvind Kejriwal was confronted with those questions, forcing him to walk out of the meeting. But if you could put this in perspective for us, who were these people that were raising those questions? Were they political representatives or were they officials or bureaucrats of the NDMC?
No. They are mainly political representatives, and this is the second time that such a thing has happened in the NDMC meeting. Earlier also the same same sort of a confrontation had happened, and even then the Chief Minister had chosen just to keep silent and walk out. So you can see very aggressive members over there trying to score a political point, also trying to corner the Chief Minister over the flood situation here in the national capital and asking a lot of questions. Now remember, the Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal is generally not used to this kind of questioning, which actually does not, which breaks all norms, because after all he is also the Chief Minister, and the manner in which each and every person is trying to ask a question and corner him actually perhaps he did not feel that he could actually answer those questions in that sort of an atmosphere, so he chose to walk out. But to remember one thing, this is not the first time it has happened, this is the second time it has happened, and this is the second time also that this particular similar video has been tweeted out, basically to embarrass the Chief Minister, and as the BJP is trying to make the point, it's to try and expose the Chief Minister and try and tell that the Chief Minister of Delhi does not have any answers when he's
Yes, Rupashri, sorry to interrupt you there. I'll come back to you, but BJP's Manjinder Singh Sirsa joining us on this broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Your first reaction to what transpired in that NDMC meeting?
जैसे कि हमने अक्सर देखा है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल जी एक भगौड़ा है, हर जगह से भाग जाते हैं। ये फिर से एक बार भागे हैं। ये वो हैं जो अनशन से भागे थे, जो बच्चों की कसम से भागे थे, जो कांग्रेस के समर्थन से भागे थे, जो लोगों पे झूठे इल्जाम लगा के भागे थे। आज एनडीएमसी की मीटिंग से भागे, जब इनसे पूछा गया कि आप एनडीएमसी के एरिया में पानी भर गया और आपने कुछ नहीं किया, रेदर देन कंप्लाइंग टू इट, उनका जवाब देने की बजाय, जस्टिस बताने के बजाय कि क्या सिचुएशन राइज हुई, बीइंग चेयरमैन बीइंग द सीएम ऑफ द स्टेट, वो वहां से भाग खड़े हुए। तो एक बात तो बहुत स्पष्ट है कि ये भगौड़ा सीएम था, भगौड़ा है और भगौड़ा ही रहेगा। लेकिन हमें अफसोस इस बात का है कि एक स्टेट का चीफ मिनिस्टर हो और अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी से जवाब देने की बजाय वहां से भाग जाए, ये बहुत इररिस्पॉन्सिबल बिहेवियर है सीएम।
Jay, confronted by tough questions there, the Chief Minister of Delhi leaving the meeting. Mr. Sirsa, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. We'll keep an eye out on how the Aam Aadmi Party responds to this as well. But for now, slipping into a quick break. Back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Apprehensions over the Seema Haider case. Are people blowing it out of proportion that this woman came from Pakistan and managed to enter India, or do you think this is indeed a security concern for India?
Critical about the government is one thing, but obsessed about one man is another thing. Multiple people from that 28 parties said the same thing. Our agenda is to defeat Modi. So much so, sir, they were not even clear about the name.
Why is the NDA being revived? Is there a genuine sort of fear within the BJP and the NDA that this 26-party alliance, at least on paper, looks formidable?
Brought to you by... As far as the Congress is concerned, I do know they're saying this is legal procedure, but the BJP is saying this is just appeasement politics. They've done this in the past with many affiliated with the PFI, and they're just repeating it once again.
Well, you see, this all started with Congress MLA Tanvi Seth writing a letter to Prime Minister G. Parmeshwara requesting that riots pertaining to the DJ Ali, KG Ali, and not just that in Hubli and Shimoga as well. Many false cases have been booked against individuals. So these cases should be relooked. That's what the Congress MLA Tanvi Seth had written to Home Minister G. Parmeshwara. And following this letter, G. Parmeshwara wrote another letter to the Home Secretary stating that yes, there are certain false cases filed against certain individuals in such rare cases, so that has to be relooked. So once this letter came to the fore, came to the public light, so the BJP slammed the Congress government for appeasement politics, and as we witness right now, former Minister, former Chief Minister also slammed Home Minister G. Parmeshwara as well as Chief Minister Siddaramaiah of once again indulging in the appeasement politics. So that's what the BJP had to say. But once again, we have the Congress party as well, Home Minister and the Chief Minister himself stating that there have been certain false cases that have been booked. So we are looking into that case. And remember, in one of its cabinet meetings which took place in a couple of weeks ago, in the previous month, the Congress government made it very clear and also said that they'll be forming the subcommittee that will look into the cases. So this is not a sudden decision. A decision was earlier taken in one of its cabinet meeting, and after this cabinet meeting decision, a subcommittee will be formed and this will really look into the cases.
Okay, Akshara, we'll unfortunately have to leave that conversation there. Thanks a lot for getting us all those details. Some other reactions also now coming in.
ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಶೀಲನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
ಡಿಜೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿವಮೊಗ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದಂತ ಗಲಾಟೆ ಆರೋಪಿಗಳ ಕೇಸ್ ವಾಪಸ್ ಪಡೆಯಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂದಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಈ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಿಜೆಪಿ
ಅದು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಶೀಲನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
Reaction that was coming in from the Karnataka Chief Minister. As we pointed out, there is a political war of words that has now erupted in the state of Karnataka as far as the DJ Halli case is concerned, where the BJP has trained its guns at the Siddaramaiah government, saying that you're indulging in appeasement politics. What has the Karnataka government done as of now? Because the BJP is saying they've set the wheels in motion. If this case is dropped or withdrawn, then this is just appeasement politics. What is the Karnataka Home Minister saying?
Well, we just now spoke to the Karnataka Home Minister. He refuted the accusations by the BJP with the claim that it's just appeasement politics by the Congress, which Congress keeps doing it. So he completely refuted it and stated that there are certain procedures which this particular withdrawal of the cases has to go through. First, we'll pass it to the subcommittee, and subcommittee will take a look at these cases, and then it will be passed on to the main committee. And after that, it passes through these two phases, then if they they are not found at fault, then only the cases against these creators will be withdrawn. Apart from that, there is no any such comment given out by the Home Minister whether there will be withdrawing all the cases or not. They just said that these two cases, this is the procedure, and all the cases against these individuals have to go through these two procedures. Once if they are not at fault, then only the cases will be withdrawn. So that's the word coming in from the Home Minister G. Parmeshwara. But the BJP has already acted ante against the Home Minister and the government. They also pointed out the fact that Siddaramaiah government obviously withdraw cases against the PFI. So once again, they are doing the same here as well. And they are working on the behest of certain organizations. And all these organizations, they also alleged that all these organizations have written to the Chief Minister to withdraw cases against individuals from their organizations. So Siddaramaiah is listening to all of these organizations and the individuals from these organizations. So that's the reason why such move is being initiated by the government. So that's what the BJP had to say regarding this issue.
So Akshara, just help me understand this clarification that's coming in from the Karnataka Home Minister. He in fact is saying, okay, Akshara, we'll just request you to stay on with us. We want to take in a reaction from the BJP as well. Mr. S. Prakash now joining us. Good to have you with us here on CNN News 18. There is now clarification, sir, that's coming in as far as the Karnataka Home Minister is concerned. One, he's saying there is no complaint that has been filed. We're not dropping any cases as far as the right accused is concerned. Why is the BJP making a mole out of a mountain?
The letter he has sent to the police officer explains itself. He has categorically stated, review the cases and and act accordingly. What does it mean? He is a home minister and he should have been more careful about it. How can we let these troubleshooters who indulge in burning police station and it almost indulging in a terror activities be let off just because the ruling party MLA writes a letter claiming most of them are innocent and they have no role to play in it? Has the court declared them innocent? The case is pending in the court. Let the court decide. Who is Mr. Parmeshwar to decide about the merit of the case?
But he's gone on to clarify that we're not dropping the cases as far as the right accused is concerned. There are certain false cases that the state government feels were formed. They're saying we need to look into it. The other point that the state government is making, that you would also know, this was a case that was transferred to the NIA. So there's little ambit as far as the scope of what the state government can do or cannot do.
First of all, it is a well-known fact. Most of the cases after KGL and DGL riot case has been transferred to NIA, over which the state government has no powers at all. Mr. Tanveer said only for the eyewash and to mislead the community people has written a letter, and Parmeshwar blindly has replied him. Now he has to clarify it. This government is protecting all such elements. What is happening in Udupi is also a similar case. And even in the hijab case, the minister is on record when the case is before the Supreme Court, he says we will permit hijab in the colleges. So they have no respect for the law, they have no respect for the judiciary, they are only respect for their vote bank politics.
Mr. Prakash, I just want to understand another aspect. The Congress is also saying this won't really be the first time that state governments have taken decision in certain cases of withdrawing them or dropping them. Your government also did it. So why is only their government being targeted? And secondly, when the BJP makes a charge of appeasement politics, what are you asking from the state government as of now? Because they're quoting legal procedure.
The case of KJL, DJL is almost a terror activity. Why did the NIA took over the case? They even they burnt the police station. Hundreds of vehicles were touched for no reason at all. It was a huge riot they ensured within a matter of 2-3 hours. 4 to 5 people lost their life in the police firing. Such was the intensity of the riot they engineered. And such elements who are responsible for such act, should they go scot-free? Let us not politicize it. If any other community does it also, they...
Welcome back. There's a big twist in the 2020 Bengaluru Riots case. Several of the accused are innocent, says a Congress MLA. They are wrongly being implicated in these cases, which is why those cases need to be dropped, is what a letter has now been written to the state government, to the Home Minister to be specific. To which the state government now says that we will look into it. We will form a committee by the government, which is just procedure, and they will look into it. The BJP is now up in arms. They say this is nothing but appeasement politics. The government, the Congress party in the state is only trying to appease the minority community, which is why they are even willing to look into these cases and if they can be dropped. Listen in to the political face-off.
This is totally based on the principles of justice, that no innocent should be punished.
ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಯಾವ ಕಾನೂನು ನಮಗೆ ಗೌರವ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರ ಜೀವಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಗೌರವ ಇಲ್ಲ, ದೇಶದ ಹಿತಾಸಕ್ತಿ ನಮಗೆ ಗೌರವ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಮ ಆಂತರಿಕ ಭದ್ರತೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಏನಾರಾಗಲಿ ತುಷ್ಟೀಕರಣದ ರಾಜಕಾರಣ, ಇಂಥ ಜಿಹಾದಿಗಳು ಇನ್ನು ಕಾನೂನು ಉಲ್ಲಂಘನೆಯನ್ನ ಕಾನೂನನ್ನ ಕೈಗೊಂಡಂತ ಇಂಥ ನರಹಂತಕರ ಜೊತೆನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ವಿಜೀವಿಂತ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಜಕ್ಕೂ
Is this about appeasement or is this just a procedural move by the state government? That's the big debate that we are going to be focusing on the Right Stand at 8 p.m. tonight as well. But with that, it's a wrap from my side.
Good evening and a warm welcome. You're watching Viewpoint with me, Griha. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Council of Ministers will have to undergo a parliamentary test. A no-confidence motion that has been moved against his government by Congress's Lok Sabha Deputy and North-East Leader Gaurav Gogoi, making this the second such motion against the Narendra Modi government. The first one was moved by TDP in the year 2018 over the non-allocation of adequate funds for the successor state of Andhra Pradesh, and it was backed by the opposition parties. The government sailed through that one then and is unlikely to be worried on the number front this time either, with the NDA government having 331 members in the House and the BJP alone boasting of 303 of those. The newly named India Alliance has 144 MPs, while neutral parties such as BRS, the YSRCP and the Biju Janata Dal have a combined strength of 70. This effectively means that even if all the non-NDA parties come together, the BJP still has the numbers to survive a no-confidence motion.